right. Welcome back to the next episode of 100 Apps, 100 Hours. I'm your host, Brian Gillespie, developer advocate at Directus, and I'm super excited for today. We're going to answer the question that has been keeping you up at night. Can you build Netflix in an hour? It's probably not been keeping you up at night. But the truth, you can't handle the truth. I can't resist throwing in a good movie quote here for this one. So we are going to try to rebuild Netflix in 1 hour or less, or publicly fail trying. Those are the rules of 100 Apps, 100 Hours. And then the second rule of Fight Club is use whatever you have at your disposal. So how are we going to achieve this? We are going to do a little planning, then we're going to do a little building, but just to get eyes on what we're going to build, here's Netflix. You know it, you've seen it. We are going to try to rebuild as much of this as possible in 1 hour. So that means the back end, that's where we'll start. Then we'll work on the front end and try to get as close as possible to the original Netflix, or my own spin on it as possible. So what do I have prepped ahead of time? I have a Nuxt application ready to go. I've also got an instance of Directus. Directus is what we're going to be using for the back end. I've got it spun up. It is totally blank now. And before we get started, I'll show you just so you know I'm not cheating. So we'll go to admin, example. We'll key in a quick little password. If I can actually remember what the password is. There we go. Okay. It is a totally blank instance. And if we fire up the database, again, just to prove it, we've just got our Directus collections that it adds for us automatically. So just the metadata. But as far as our actual data, there is none. So, all right. With that out of the way, I'm sure you guys trust me anyway. But let's get started, right? We got 60 minutes on the clock. Boom, away we go. All right. So before we even get started, maybe this is not the Netflix clone. This is, what are we going to call this, right? Give it a name. How about DevFlix? DevFlex. Yeah, that's essentially what this could be. So this is DevFlix. Let's strike through this. This is what we're going to be building. And anytime I build a project, I like to do some concepting first, maybe some diagramming, just so my brain is warmed up and I understand what's going on. So we'll just draw some boxes here. Let's walk through like the functionality, or do we even need to cover functionality, right? We all know what Netflix does, but we've got a browse a catalog of titles. Those could be a movie or a show. What else? View that content. Yeah. View stream videos, right? Stream videos. Once title is selected, pick from different categories. I don't know. It's Netflix, right? We all understand the functionality involved. All right. So let's start working on the data model, right? One of the ways that I will usually try to deconstruct an application is just open up the JavaScript console or the developer tools, and not necessarily the console, and then take a look at like the network requests that are coming in to see if I can understand what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know that does Netflix have an API? Does it close its, okay, so they close their public API. But if we look, we could see there's a ton of calls going out to a player, but I see here's like some GraphQL stuff, some videos, artwork. I'm not really sure this is going to get me anywhere behind the scenes. They spend a lot of time on security and things like that, and performance. So maybe they're doing some server-side rendering and things like that here to actually display this content. No worries, right? But let's walk through and just kind of think through things, right? We've got what do we have inside Netflix? We have a title, like a content title, or we could call it content, but that doesn't seem right. It could be a movie or a series. So let's just call it titles, right? These are movies, series. There's a name for that, description, probably like a rating. There's a lot of things. So we just want to capture like the core stuff here. All right, so we got titles. What else do we have as we go through? If we look at My Little Pony here on the screen, we've got our episodes and seasons. So if it's a show, we've got a season. Season has a number, probably a release date for the season. And then it's going to have a title ID and probably episodes, right? Episodes. Now, behind the scenes, I don't know exactly how Netflix has set up like their video and, like the encoding and streaming and all of that. I'm assuming attached to each title or each season, each episode. All right, what do we have? Oh, sometimes you just accidentally push Command Q and totally destroy all of your progress. All right, so how are we going to structure this, right? This is probably the most important thing to get right. Each episode is going to have a episode number, name, description. It's going to be back to a season ID. And then there's almost like another relationship here, which is just the actual content. So this is just like the actual file. We'll probably just use like a YouTube URL in this case. Okay, so these are our kind of main collections. You probably also got things like ratings, users. Directus gives us that out of the box, which is really nice. So we've got Directus users. And, we could have something like viewing history as well. User watch history. We're getting really deep. Like the main functionality is just up here where we have these items, right? These are the core pieces of this application. All right. Shoot, I forgot to start the clock. How long have we been doing this? Let's just give like 55 seconds or 55 minutes. Or I did start the clock, but we deleted Figma, right? So let's handicap it a bit more, maybe 54. Okay. All right. So we'll go back and look at that during editing, but yeah, sorry, mistakes happen, especially when you're against the clock. All right. So now that we've kind of got a rough idea of how we're going to structure this, I like to work back end first because when I'm building my front end, I love having access to the actual data instead of lorem ipsum dipsum, and then I have to wire everything up later. So with this stack, Directus and Nuxt, I can quickly scaffold my backend and get instant REST and GraphQL APIs, and then plumb that to my front end as I'm building the front end. So it's a really great workflow for me. I hope it works well for you. Give it a shot. All right, so let's go in and create our first collection. We're going to call this titles. And I'm sure somebody will tell me why this is wrong, why it is not. So Directus gives us a couple of system fields that we can add. These are just little helpers. Like date created is automatically populated with a timestamp. User created is automatically populated with the logged in user that created that. Do we have a sort for those? And I can already tell I forgot one big one, right? Which is going to be genres or categories. Like we got to have some kind of taxonomy for those. All right, so we've got our title. What is the type of this, right? So it's either going to be a movie or a series. Let's use our radio button interface for that. So this is going to be the type. The first one will be movie. So it's either a movie. Let's say we default to movies. This is going to be series. And Directus also has built-in translation strings, which is another nice thing that I could go in and create these translations where here's the key. Let's call it, series, right? Boo, 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 series. And in English, this is going to be, let's just capitalize this field anytime we render it, right? Cool. All right, so then I could do something like this where I have $T and do series, and that will automatically translate that for me based on the strings that I've got set up, which is really nice if you've got users across different languages inside your Directus instance inside the backend. All right, so we got the type is either a movie or a series. Let's add an input for the name of this title. And I can even go in and add like a little helper. What's the name in this notes section? What's the name of the content of the movie or series, right? Or series. Great. What else do we have? We've got a description. And let's just go for like a rating. So we've got a drop down. Let's call it rating. Or, we could probably have like a ratings collection here. I was probably thinking this is like reviews, but let's just take a look and see, right? This is TVY. Do we want to be able to query by that, right? So in that case, let's do a many to one, and we'll call it a rating. And we're going to have Directus create a new collection for us in the background. So everything that's going on here, I feel the need to explain this. Directus is actually mirroring this inside my database. So as I create these new fields, as they're called inside the Directus application, it is actually mirroring those to my SQL database. So we'll call this ratings. And if we go to advanced mode, just to take a look at this, maybe we zoom back out a little bit. But I could see that Directus is telling me that, hey, we will create this inside your data model. Great. So it's going to create that for me. And then we've got a many to one relationship. Great. Okay, so we've got the rating. And now if I look, we've got our ratings collection created as well. All right, so we'll go in. Let's add a rating, the name for the rating. I'm not sure if that's what these are actually called or not. And let's just create a couple of these, right? Like PG-13, TVY. Is that what I saw? TVY. Yep. TVMA. Rated R. Yeah. All right, so we get the picture. We could call it PG, and then we have G, right? Some of my favorite movies are still G-rated movies to this day. Of course, I'm a father of 3 as well. All right, so we go back to our data model. Let's build out the rest of this. We've got our titles. So if we are creating a title now, like My Little Pony, now we can see what the status is. Is this a movie? Is it a series? What's the name, description? And we could pick a rating that we can then update through the system. And let's just adjust the display template for this because I want to show the name anytime we're referencing that rating. All right, so I'll zoom back in just a bit and we'll build out our next piece of the puzzle here. Let's work on seasons. All right, so automatically generate a UUID. Maybe we want to store who is the user that was updated this, just so we can play the blame game later. Cool. All right, and then we've got a number. So let's do an integer. We'll have the season number. Okay, and inside Directus, I can also make that the sort field. Where are you, sort field? All right, so we'll choose the sort field. The season number is going to be the sort field. So whenever we reference this, it will sort by that number automatically. What else do we have? Do we have a description on the sort number? I don't know. Release date. You know, this theoretically could be on the actual episodes as well. But Netflix does like to drop a season at a time, so maybe we store it here as well. Let's just use a timestamp so that it saves the time zone value as well. All right, what else? We have a title ID, right? So we have to create that relationship back to the title so we can fetch that data. So this is going to be a many to one, right? A season can only belong to a single content title. So if the show is My Little Pony, there's 5 seasons. All those seasons belong to one My Little Pony title. So we could call that title ID or title. I prefer less verbose, but it doesn't really matter here. Directus is going to serve up that however we create it. All right, so we've got that. Let's add the one-to-many relationship. So we're creating a many to one, but on the reverse side, a single title could have many seasons. So let's go ahead and create that relationship as well. And for the season, we'll use the, for a many to one, we'll use the name of that, and then we'll do related values. Okay, so we got the title, we've got the number. You know, we could have a description for this season if we wanted to. You know, there's probably even like some collateral or trailers or something attached to this. We won't worry about that right now. Let's save this, and then we'll go in and create episodes. So in our diagram over here, we probably should have had episodes to begin with. All right, so same thing. I'll just add my system field. So if anybody updates this information, we've got it. Is this episode published or not? Yes or no. And then we'll give this a name. What's the name of the episode? We probably also have a number for this episode as well. Episode number. And, you know, something like this, you may even call like episode number just to make sure everything is very clear, but I'm all for making things difficult. So we will add a description, and now we'll link this back to the season, right? So we're going to use that many to one relationship again, and we're going to link this back to a season. The related collection is seasons, and I'm going to open up advanced field mode here in Directus. And I guess I could actually use my little mouse pose tool for you guys so we can get an idea of what's happening here. So I'm going to add the reverse relationship back to seasons. So one season could have many episodes. One episode has, or many episodes have a single season. I think I explained that right. Sounds great. All right, so now we've got titles, we've got episodes, we've got seasons. If I look, we've got titles. So let's go in and create a new title, right? So we'll just drag and drop Netflix over here. And let's just work on this, right? My Little Pony, make your mark. All right, so this is My Little Pony, make your mark. All right, maybe there's a hyphen there, dot, I'm not sure. That's the season description, right? Where do we see all episodes? All right, so here's there's kind of the generic description that apparently Netflix does not let me copy, right? So welcome back to Equestria, where pony magic is everywhere. Who doesn't love pony magic? All right, there's our description. This is TVY. All right, and I can already see we've left out a couple things, right? We've left out some thumbnail images, probably on each episode, each title as well. But we'll go in and create a new season. They're calling this Chapter 1. So we probably have a name for the season as well that we can add. Let's just say the release date is today. And we'll start adding some episodes. Right? So we've got Make Your Mark. That's episode number 1. Something's wrong in Equestria. And now we're actually watching Netflix. How do I go back? Okay. All right. Is there a way to actually... I guess they disabled that. I'm just going to use Raycast here to generate descriptions for this. All right. So we'll say this is published. All right. So at the very least, now we have some stuff that we can work with and fetch via the API that we could render on the front end. I'm going to go back really quickly and just add a thumbnail for this title. And we could even do that for the episodes as well. We've probably got like a thumbnail. There's probably also like a teaser. And while we're at it, let's just go ahead and try to finish out what we were building on the back end. All right, so then we've got the actual content. So creating this separate collection allows me to standardize this across episode or like TV and movies. So let's go in and create the content. You know, this could be video, I guess. Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's just call it content. And I'll probably figure out a better way to do this some other point. All right, so we've got the content. We've got let's just use a YouTube URL for this. We're going to cheat a lot. But this could be like an actual file that we uploaded to our backend here that we serve. Again, I don't want to get into like the streaming stuff because I like efficiently serving video at different bandwidth, at different resolution. That's a whole ball of wax. I'm sure there's a great API for it. And Directus will manage some of those assets for you in a nice way, but it doesn't do video encoding and things like that you need to deliver those streams effectively. Cool. So we've got a YouTube URL. There's the content. This is going to have a title associated with it. Titles. Okay. And then there's probably an episode as well. Episode. Titles. Okay. All right, so we got a title, we got an episode. We probably should have created those reverse relationships, but we could go in and do that now. All right, so we'll call this the content. That'll be our content collection. Episodes, and now we'll just create the reverse. Uh-oh. What am I doing wrong? I'm doing a many to one back to that when actually let's just go in and I'm going to delete these for now just to make sure we set these up correctly. All right, so I'm going to let's go to the titles. We'll do a many to one. We'll call this content. We'll go to the content collection. And here I'm going to go into the relationship. We'll add this to the title. Okay, so we'll add that reverse one to many relationship. We'll call it the title. I think it is going to be an array. I guess you could have multiple pieces of content attached to any one item, but no worries. Content, and then we're gonna have episode. Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. What's next, right? We probably need some genres. Let's go in genres. And there could be multiple genres per piece of content, I assume. Like, could be drama and horror, or drama and faux drama. If you live in my household, I've got plenty of drama. So we'll give this a name, and then let's go in and we would create a junction table between titles and genres, right? But again, one of the nice things here is Directus is going to do a lot of this for us. So we could call this genres. We do genres as the related collection. And if we look, we go to the advanced mode inside Directus, we can see that there's going to be a junction collection or a junction table in our database created. Do we want to be able to query by genres? Maybe we don't need that. Do we add a sort field? Probably not. Okay, so now we've got genres, we've got thumbnail, we've got a lot of different items set up in this database, right? And we're closing in on 30 minutes. We probably need to start building some UI soon, but I do want to just open up the database itself and take a look at what's going on now. So you'll see these Directus tables, but if you look, you can also see our actual tables that we created, like episodes and genres. And if I look at the data, here's the episode that we created, Make Your Mark, for My Little Pony. So this is great. Like anything that happens inside the app here, Directus is mirroring that to your database. Likewise, if I go in and they're very robust access control here, I'm just going to enable this as a public permission for all of our content, which would probably not be a great thing security-wise, but I just want to show you this. We'll go into localhost 8055, which is my backend. And if I go to items and I go to titles, boom, I'm going to get My Little Pony, right? Now, this is not super helpful because we're just getting, like, let's say I just wanted to make a single call and get all my content. I love Directus for that because it gives me an interface via REST that feels like GraphQL. So I get the benefits of GraphQL, and then I can go in and do something like this. Like, hey, I just want the ID, I want the type, I want the name, I want the description, boom, and it will give me exactly what I asked for. Now, the other thing that I can also do is go in, and if I want something like seasons, and I could use a wildcard to grab all the root level fields of the next one, right? But I can get all of my related content in a single API call. That's super powerful, super helpful. Obviously, like the deeper you go, the slower the queries on the back end are going to be, but it is still very speedy. And obviously, I don't have a ton of data here. So we got seasons.star, and then we could do seasons.episodes.star, and that should give us the episodes. And then once we add content, we could go even deeper and say something like seasons.episodes.content.star. Now, there is no content at this point, but if there were, it would come back. Great. So that is just one way that, one of the major things that I really love about Directus. All right, so we've got some stuff going on. Let's go in and populate a few more titles, right? We've got a thumbnail. I don't think they're going to let me lift this. So let's just do the old screenshot trick. Upload that image. Click to browse. Should actually just be able to drag and drop there. Okay, let's create a new content for this. We'll call it YouTube. Pull you up. My Little Pony. And again, I don't support any of this. Make sure anything that you are doing is okay legally. We'll just copy this. Okay, great. We've got a movie. Actually, this is a series, right? But one thing I noticed here is if I'm switching between movies and series, we should probably actually not show our seasons, right? So how do we actually adjust that? If we go into our titles, Directus has the ability to do conditional fields. So I could go in and for seasons, we could do something like this where we hide this by default, and then we come into our conditions tab, and if type equals series, then we build a rule. This is just a description for this. We'll do type equals series. Then we are going to make this not hidden, right? And we'll show a link to the item. Did I get that right? Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's test this out just to see what's up. Let's go in and add another one, right? And now where I have movie selected, nothing. But if I select series, now we're seeing that field. It doesn't change the underlying database structure or anything. It's just hiding that when I'm creating the content. But I could even add validation around it if I wanted to. So if we go in and we add a movie, let's see if we've got a movie. I could switch up here to the top to movies. And we open this up. We've got a trash truck Christmas. All right, this is TVY, made for TV. Made for TV goodness. All right, we will create some new content for this. Where's our handy YouTube? Trash truck Christmas. Full episode Netflix Junior. This looks like an official channel. Yeah, okay. We'll see. So we've got that. We've got a thumbnail image. Again, I'm not even going to try to lift this from... Oh, actually, I guess I could. Copy image address. Is that available on the web? Okay, cool. So we'll just lift these images directly. I can import that file. Great. There that is. And I could, maybe potentially find their GraphQL stream for this that allows me to pull all this in a more timely fashion. But, okay, genres, right? Let's create a new genre. What are we calling this? This is Kids TV. There's a new genre. Okay. We'll create a new kids and family movies. And this will be TV cartoons. Great. Okay. So we've got a movie. Let's switch this back to a series, right? That's a series because we've got seasons attached to it. Got some content for it. Is that going to be right? Actually, it's not, is it? We're going to go back to My Little Pony. We'll go into the seasons. We've got episodes, and we should have content for that episode. Cool. All right. So let's just see what this all looks like. Great. I can even go in and adjust this to like something akin to Netflix if I wanted to, where I could see like the thumbnails of all these different titles. So we can give it a name. The subtitles could be description. What else do we have? Or it could also be, can we get genres in here? Genres ID. We get the name of the genres. Cool. All right, so we got a couple titles. We are I'm pretty happy with where the backend is at this point. We could really go through this in a lot more detail and create something like actors, the cast and crew, director, things like that. And those would probably all be different database tables. But for the sake of having something to display at the end of this next 28 minutes, let's just get to work on the front end. All right. Cool. So let's put you back over here, Netflix, close you. We'll close our database. Let's pull up our Nux application. And I'm just going to swap these around. No real rhyme or reason. I just like my text editor being on the right side. All right, so now let's pull up our Nuxt application. Ooh, this thing is a beauty, right? So I've just got a pre-configured like a Directus Nuxt module set up that basically just wraps the Directus SDK with a little bit of auth. We may not even dive into that. But and then I've got a use Directus composable that allows me to make requests easier. There is a little bit of setup work that I've done here, but it is really just one of our boilerplates agency OS that I have taken and stripped back for the purposes here. All right, so if we go into our index page. All right, so let's look at the home page here of Netflix, and we've got kind of this setup of a header. We've got a grid of titles sorted by genre. All right, so let's dive into this. The first thing that I'm going to do, just because we are short on time, is take a look at Tailwind UI. Advanced. What's going on here? Okay. Let's just look at Nuxt UI as our library here. Something wrong with my laptop at this point. All right, so inside this boilerplate that I've got set up, I've got a little, I've got this Nuxt UI library, which is kind of built on Tailwind as well. That gives us some nice things like modals, some of the trickier components to actually build, right? So we go in, let's try Tailwind UI again, now that I've refreshed a little bit. And, all right, so what are we looking for? Let's grab a header from Tailwind UI. All right, this looks pretty good here. So we've got the view version. I'm just going to copy this down. All right, and let's go in and create a header component, header.view. All right, are we going to have a logo for this, right? We've got our logo. Can we pull that up? Will this let me copy as PNG? Can I export this as JPEG? Nope. Let's just do a new Figma file, actually, instead of FigJam. Can we paste that? If we copy, can we paste? DevFlix. Yeah. All right. Let's give it some like type of little icon treatment here. So we'll add a real original logo here. Looks like a play button. We'll change the fill to red, right? Okay. And maybe let's wrap this in. Let's give it a little, oh yeah. I'm going to be giving design courses after this as well. All right, so we'll take this, we'll export to SVG. Let's just do logo. Great. All right, so we've got this header component. If we go back to Netflix, what do we got at the top? We've got home. That'll be our index page. This is for our navigation, right? So we've got TV shows. All right, we got movies. Great. Okay. Cool. I don't have headless. I don't have heroicons in here, so let's just comment those out for now. Bars 3. I'm sure that'll throw a fit when we actually take a look at this. But cool. All right, now I'm going to create a new file called logo.view, and we're just going to copy this as SVG. Paste here. Nope, I need to wrap that in a template though. All right, there's our SVG. Now inside our header component, I'll go back up here to where we have Tailwind UI's logo, and I'm just going to call that logo component that we just had. Don't need a source, don't need an alt tag. Well, we probably do, but not going to have one. 100 apps, 100 hours. Okay, so we have a header. We're not seeing it here. What I can do is adjust the default layout. And let's do something like this where we have BG gray 900 and probably text white since we're kind of going on the Netflix theme. So this is the layout inside Nuxt, which is a feature that I really like about Nuxt, is the ability to set up a default layout. And boom, we've got our DevFlix header looking nice. If we go back to that header, I probably want to swap these A tags for a Nuxt link and change this to 2. And we could change this to TV shows and movies. Right, we'd have to create a route for those. And I'm not sure exactly how far we'll get because we have, 21 minutes remaining. But we'll see how far we can get. All right, so if I go into the header, we need to update the details for it as well. Like BG white. What does Netflix look like on the header? It's just kind of transparent until you scroll down. That's a nice effect. I don't want to set up anything there, so let's just cheat. We'll call it BG gray 900 again. And then that's going to mess up a lot of our text, I believe. Right now we can no longer see all of that. So we go to our text. Let's look at anything with text gray. Can we replace that with... we could probably do smaller values, like text 200. Again, I love Tailwind just because it enables me to not have to write custom CSS for everything. Like it does take some time to learn the conventions, but being able to not write CSS, or like custom CSS, just helps me speed along. Now I know it's not for everyone, so don't let me tell you that it is, but I enjoy it. All right, can we get our stuff? Okay, that's probably because we're missing an icon for our navigation over here. So what is this? This is hidden. Flex LG. Let's hide that at like just a smaller breakpoint. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so we got home, we got TV shows, we got movies, we can log in. Great. Now let's actually work on our page, right? If we go in, let's actually render some stuff out. All right, so if I look at Netflix, we've got a header component or like a hero image. So we go for our hero sections. Hero. Which one of these kind of looks like Netflix? Kind of this one? Kind of. I mean, this one has a background image. So we could take that. Okay, so we're not going to copy this header piece, but let's just go in. I'm going to copy this part. We will create a new one called hero.view. I've got just a couple of snippets already set up for me inside VS Code to make creating view components a little easier. And okay, we're good there. Watch chapter 6 now. Is this just kind of a rotating thing? Probably based on like the last thing that you watched. Instead of doing that, let's do something else. Data. All right. All right, so this is going to be justified center. We don't want to do that. We want to do, what is it, justify start, I believe. Okay. We'll add this to our index page. So let's take a look at this. We'll just wrap this in a div. We'll go to hero, call in that component. Let's see what this is starting to look like. All right. Okay. Okay. We got a little something going on here. I only succeeded in moving one thing to the left. So let's take a look at that hero component one more time. All right, so this has got some type of gradient blur attached to it for the images. Can we lift this? Oh, yes, we can. Netflix. Love building on the fly. Thank you, Netflix. What else do we have? The overflow hidden. Announcing. Do we even need this? Let's just scrap that part of it, and we'll just show. Watch chapter 6 now. And I still can't copy this stuff. Come on, Netflix. Copy selector. Copy element. Edit as HTML. All right, so we'll just pick this up and throw it here. And we got the My Little Pony logo, so we'll add in Nuxt. No, we'll just add in an image tag because I don't have that domain configured. Image source. All right, class. I don't know, maybe height 24. Got an image tag. Welcome back to Equestria. Text center. This is not going to be text center. Okay, we're getting somewhere. How do we dim this image, right? Brightness 50. Oh, wrong image, Bryant. Brightness 50. Maybe 25. Oh, can we do a percentage here? Get like a nice value. Okay. All right, so we're getting closer. He likes it. All right, get started. Let's say watch now. Okay, we'll remove that one. All right, so at least we got some type of header here. This would be a Nuxt link. And I'm trying to think of how we're going to serve this content, right? We would do a pay. Let's add a new folder for this. This is going to be, what does Netflix do as far as routing, right? If I open this up, episodes and info. Okay, so is it just like a genre? Is that how the URL structure is? Because you watch Mosh's spooky stories. So we got the genre. If I look at the URL again, yeah, it's just like Netlify Kids, and then there's a query param. All right, so it actually appears to be inside the actual application, right? So we're just appending like a query param to it. Let's come back to that step. Let's actually render out some titles first, though, right? So we go back to our page. Let's create a new component. What are we going to call this? Content grid? Sounds great. vcomp ts. Okay, so now we've got a view component. Let's do some data fetching, right? We will do something like this where we got constant data equals use async data. So this is the built-in Nuxt data fetching. We give it a key. Let's call it content grid, comma. All right, and then we're going to return something. So in this case, we're going to use our Directus composable that I've got inside this. But if not, I could import the Directus SDK, fire that up. But we're on the clock here. So, all right. So we're going to read our items, and we are going to read titles. So, and then we're going to get. Is there any specific thing that we want to render out? Let's just leave our options blank for now, right? So we got our data. Let's just go in and make sure we're getting that data back. Sounds great. I don't see it on the screen. Why not? That's because we're not actually including it in our index page. So we'll just do content grid. Great. Okay. So at least we could see a few things here. That's great. Do we really need anything else to render this grid? Probably not, actually. This shows like the viewing data. We're definitely not going to get to that. We got 12 minutes left. Let's just see if we can actually render something out. It shows something in a modal. All right, so we got our content grid. Great. Cool. Let's go in, and I'm not sure if Tailwind has a great looking component for this. Gridless. Kind of, yeah. Let's just create something on the fly, right? So we'll go in. All right, so that's the wrapper div. Then we'll do. We would probably fetch this via genre as well. Again, running short on time. All right, we are going to do a. Let's just keep this simple, right? We'll add a little bit of padding to the sides. We'll give this a grid. Grid calls, 5 across the screen, 6 across the screen, and then we'll do. Let's do a title card, and we will pass. So we'll do some v4 action here. v4 title and data. The key is going to be title.id. And then we have our we're going to pass a title. Title equals title. All right, so now we're going to create a new component. Call it title card.view. And we will define some props. So the props equals define props. Title object as prop type. I haven't set up our types here, even though we're still using TypeScript. All right, so we've got a card. I know Tailwind has like a card definition. Actually, the Nuxt UI library has a card as well. Let's just use it. So we got a card. There's a card. UCard is the name of this. UCard. And what do we have inside the card? We have I don't know if these actually need to be H tags or not. We'll just use a P tag. Got the title.name. If I can actually type this, right? We've got an image for the card. Source equals title. No. We're going to use Nuxt image because I have it pre-configured. And I'll just show you that really quickly. If I go to Nuxt config, where are you? Where are you, Mr. Image? Okay. So Nuxt image, Directus is a provider here. We just give it a base URL that communicates with our Directus instance and allows us to do image transformations on the fly, which is really nice. So we got source title.thumbnail. Okay. What do we do? Like a with full height 24 maybe. Sounds good. We got a title. A P. Let's make this font bold. I'm assuming that's what it looks like. Oh, no, it's actually just a card, right? All right, let's see what this looks like. We'll go back to our index page, content grid. Why don't we have our content? Why is content grid not rendering anything? Do we save it? What's going on here? Div server. Why are we not rendering anything? Title card. Content grid. There is no data. What are we doing there? We just had our data, right? Am I being silly? Pre-data. Is that not showing? Did I break something? What is going on? Use async data, content grid, titles, read items. Where did you go? Did I not just have this like a minute ago? Bum, bum, bum. Title equals title. Hydration mismatch. If I look at content grid, like we should have data, right? Let me just look at the Nux fetching. Sometimes I use Nux all the time, and I'm not. Sometimes I have to go back to the, we gotta await. Yeah, I don't know how that worked the first time, right? Nux image not showing. Okay, so we're missing some images there. Why are we missing images? So we are missing images because let's add our grid back. Grid calls 6 BG grid. Do we need an actual BG? Okay, maybe grid calls 4. It's fine. How are we doing on the time? We got 6 minutes left to actually render something up. PX 8, PY 12. Just pad this out a little bit. All right. What's next? Our images are not displaying, right? How do we fix that? It is actually going to be inside our Directus instance. So it is a permissions issue. Pretty sure if I were to take a look at our network requests, we look at like images here, get 403, forbidden. So I would go into, not my docs, we'll open up the Directus instance, go to 8055, and I somehow managed to log myself out as well. All right. We go into access control. We've got our content here, but then we're going to go in and allow access to the Directus files collection. So that way we can actually serve those images on the front end. Okay, great. Maybe title card wasn't a great idea there. Using the Nux card, right? Let's just call it div. Oh, forgot to close that. All right, so there's the div. This is going to be object cover trash truck Christmas. Maybe we need to make that a little higher. 32. All right. How are we doing on time? 4 minutes. Can we get this to actually render? All right. Button at click. All right. Quick and dirty. Let's do this. We're going to add a composables. Actually, we could just pass this up as well. All right. At click, we're going to define some emits. So emit equals define emits. What are we going to tell this? Select title. Select title. I think that's the syntax, right? All right, select title. Emit. Select title. And we're going to pass the what? No, it should just be title.id. Is that right? Or do I have to wrap that? No. What are we getting here? Select title does not exist. Let's just call this function onClicked emit select title props.title onClick. Cool. Okay. And then inside our content grid, let's do this. where we've got a modal. Okay. And we've got is open. That's false. Select title. And then what are we going to do for the title? Let's do title. Maybe content, right? Content ref equals null. GitHub Copilot here for the win on this one, right? Do we have a video component? I don't have a video component, so we're just going to do an iframe class aspect style. Let's call it video. We'll just add a quick style here. Dot video aspect ratio 16:9. All right, the source is going to be the content dot YouTube URL. Is that actually going to work? I think I've got. Do I have some strings in here? Do I have a video content? I don't. All right, let's rely on AI here. Generate YouTube embed. Okay, so that returns the video ID. Let's see what AI comes back with. YouTube embed video ID. Okay, great. All right, so there's going to be our source. We'll say generate YouTube video embed URL. Oh, no, that's YouTube embed URL. I think somewhere in the starter I may already have this. Generate YouTube embed URL, and that is going to be the content.youtube URL. All right, so what am I missing? I need to close that. Okay, and then on our select title, right, we need to fetch the content for the title. All right, so that's going to be what? This is going to be an async function now. How are we doing on time? We have hit time. So we ran out of time to actually flesh this out and render this content in a modal. But I just want to try it. Let's just pursue it really quickly and see where we're at. Constant. We are going to. We don't need to actually use async data for this. We're going to fetch this on the client side. So let's do constant title equals weight. Use Directus, read items, title. Read item. Is it going to be title? We're going to fetch through the. We got the root level fields. Let's take a look at that data model again, right? Local hosts. All right, so we got titles. Then we've got content. All right, so root level, we'll go content dot that. Select title. Title has already been declared. Oh, okay. Where do I have that at? Oh, I've already given it the title. Content. All right, so if I click that, is it actually making the request? Select title. Oh, and then for the title card at select title, we're going to select title. All right, so I can see that's making the request. I get the data here. There's our content. Do we have the YouTube URL? That's great. For some reason, it's not throwing the modal window, right? Why is the modal not opening? Cannot read properties undefined of YouTube URL. All right, so we'd probably wrap this in like a computed or something. Selected content equals computed. Value. All right, and this is going to be if selected content, and we'll have selected content. Is that why? All right, so it's actually throwing the modal, but why isn't that working? It's because I'm not passing the right stuff, right? So it should be .content.youtube URL. Is that gonna work? Where are you? Where are you? Modal. Title card. Where's the content grid? Our selected content. Content.value. Oh, duh. Gosh. Forgetting to set the content. Content.value equals content. Let's try it now. No? Still no? Okay. So I hate to waste everybody's time. Content.value. Fetched content. Let's just try this real quick before I give this up. Equals fetched content. Holy moly. And there it is, right? We have a Netflix clone. So a little after time, we made it actually render something, which is a win. Kudos to the Netflix team, right? The truth of the matter is that it is very difficult to build Netflix in an hour. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Like, what would happen next for me? Basically, continue to flesh this out. Get the UI working and wired up correctly. You know, if I wanted to copy Netflix directly, I would probably make sure that when I loaded a title, that was getting appended to the actual query string in the URL. You might set it up on a different route that renders a modal. But next steps would just be basically continuing down the route of fleshing out the UI side of it, and adjusting the data model inside our backend as needed. So that's it for this episode of 100 Apps, 100 Hours. The outcome, maybe we give it 1 thumbs up. I'm sure Siskel and Ebert would probably not approve. So I'll catch you on the next one.